He had the paleness of so many neuroradiologists. Sabine said she'd like to see the film. The doctor nodded and returned a minute later holding a large paper envelope stamped, "Do not bend." She followed him into what looked to be a closet, and he put 8 large sheets of gray film on the lightboard. Each had 15 separate pictures, Parsifal's brain sliced in every conceivable direction. In the dark, narrow room, Sabine studied the information, her face painted in a bluish-white light. She stared at the shape of Parsifal's head, at the deep, curving trenches of his brain. In some pictures, things were recognizable, the strong line of his jaw, the sockets of his eyes. But most of the pictures were patterns, aerial views of an explosion taken at night. Again and again she saw the shadow, the dark, connected mass the size of a pinto bean. Even she could see where this was going. The doctor tapped the obvious with the tip of his pencil. "There," he said. He faced the light when he spoke, and the pictures of Parsifal's brain reflected in his glasses. In some people, they stay that way forever. In others, they just give out. Sabine asked for a moment alone, and the doctor nodded and backed out of the room. When these pictures were taken, just slightly over an hour before, Parsifal had been alive. She raised her hand to the film and traced her finger around the top line of his skull, the beautiful head she had held. The night Fan died, Sabine had thought the tragedy was knowing that Parsifal would die too, that there was only a limited amount of time. But now Sabine knew the tragedy was living, that there would be years and years to be alone. She pulled down the films and put them back in the envelope, tucked the envelope under her arm, and tried to remember where the elevators were. The empire that was Cedars-Sinai Hospital lapped up the last blocks of Los Angeles before it became Beverly Hills. Buildings were connected by overhead tunnels called skyways. Waiting rooms were categorized by the seriousness of the wait. The halls were lined with art that was too good for a hospital. Sometimes it seemed that every wealthy person in Los Angeles had died at Cedars-Sinai, or their loved ones had died there, and what they had been left with was not bitterness or fear, but a desire to have their name on a plaque over some door. The abundance of money took away as many outward signs of hospital life as possible. There were no sickly green walls, no peeling floors or disinfectant smells. There had been nights when Sabine had walked those halls so short on sleep that the place became a giant hotel, the Sahara or Desert Sands in Las Vegas, where she and Parsifal used to perform their magic act years before. But tonight, as Sabine went to the nurse's station to call the funeral home, it wasn't even late. The sky still had the smallest smear of orange over Beverly Hills. All the people who would one day come to Cedars to die were only beginning to think about going to sleep. Sabine knew what had to be done. She had practice. Fan had been dead 14 months, and 14 months was long enough to forget exactly nothing. But with Fan it had been different. He had worked towards his death so steadily that they knew its schedule. After the doctor came to the house for the last time and told them, a day, maybe 2, Fan had died the next morning. With Parsifal, it was only a headache. "I had a dream about Fan," Parsifal had said that morning. Sabine brought him coffee and sat down on the edge of his bed. It had been Fan's bed, Fan's house. Parsifal and Fan had lived together for 5 years. Since Fan's death, Parsifal had had a handful of dreams about Fan, which he recounted faithfully to Sabine, like letters written by a lover in another country. "How's Fan?" Parsifal woke up quickly, clear-headed. He took the cup. He was sitting by a pool. He was wearing one of my suits, my pearl gray suit, and a white shirt. He had taken off his tie. He closed his eyes, searching for details. Fan was in the details. He was holding this big pink drink, a Mai Tai or something. It had fruit all over the glass. He looked so rested, absolutely beautiful. Was it our pool? Oh, no. This was a capital P pool. Dolphin fountains, gold tiles. Sabine nodded. She pictured it herself. Blue skies, palm fronds. Did he say anything? He said, "The water's just..."